Hello, I'm Roberta Winters, President of the League of Women Voters of Radnor Township. Today I am here through a grant from the National League of Women Voters Citizen Education Fund. As many of you realize, since the League was founded in 1920, we have actively sought to register voters and encourage civic participation. Students and young people are an important voice as we try to help to make democracy work. To this end, we have sought to register eligible voters in Radnor Township, particularly those who will be eligible to vote for the first time in the November election. Every election counts. Our local elections this year will provide guidance to our local school board, our Radnor Board of Commissioners, and the Delaware County Council. Joining me today are two student members of the League of Women Voters of Radnor Township. Sophie Samaha is beginning her sophomore year in Northeastern University. Sophie, who is a graduate of Radnor High School, can tell us a little bit about herself now.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm an environmental science major at Northeastern, and I first got involved with the League 2 years ago in coalition with the Radnor Conservancy, helping to improve recycling awareness in Radnor. And now I'm interning with the Radnor League.
Thanks, Sophie. I also have with me today Rachel Hunt, who will be entering her junior year at George Washington University. Rachel is also a Radnor High School graduate, and I'd like her to tell us a little bit about herself today, too.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a political science major at GW. I first got involved with the League of Women Voters 1 year ago to help Radnor High School seniors with voting registration. I interned for the League last summer.
Thank you, Rachel and Sophie. I have been working with League members such as Sophie and Rachel, along with Ann Albright and Michelle Hunt, Rachel's mother, to coordinate youth voter registration activities. And based on special suggestions we received from the National League, we have worked very hard to train students to register other students. Some have even received service credit from the National League Honor Society to do so. Some of our student interns from previous summers and new members have also been involved in this effort. When we were able to contact chief administrators and teachers in private and parochial schools throughout the township, we were able to provide additional opportunities for students and teachers in a variety of ways. Many of the students felt very comfortable for the League to have provided voter resource bags so that teachers could then use them as appropriate with their students. We are optimistic that they were distributed widely to students in private and parochial schools, particularly those 17-year-olds who will be eligible to vote if they're 18 by November election. However, because of the many collaborative efforts we've had with our Radnor Township School District, the League was more fully able to be involved in their students. We conducted voter registration drives at the high school during homeroom periods, so eligible voters could even vote in the primary elections in May. That would help them determine who was going to be on the ballot this November. This also gave us, the students and League members, a chance to apply the training that they had learned as part of our grant. Do you recall any challenges, Rachel, that you had when you tried to register to vote for the first time?
Some of the challenges I encountered while registering to vote was knowing the difference between municipality and mailing address. For example, my municipality is Radnor, while my mailing address is the address where I live and the town that I live in. Even if you live in Bryn Mawr or St. David's, the municipality will always be Radnor on your voting registration form. In addition, you must make sure your name matches your signature. It is also important while using a paper registration form to print legibly in ink.
Now, for 2 years, Rachel has been involved in our voter registration efforts at the high school. We have found them to be particularly successful, and we are very thankful for the collaboration of the Radnor High School Parent Teachers Association as a part of graduation rehearsal. Would you share what we did on that graduation rehearsal just a week or two ago, Sophie? Or I guess Rachel would. Rachel, I guess you're better able to do it. You've done it twice, right? Let's hear from Rachel.
Yeah. Roberta and I, with the help of the PTO, hosted an event for voter registration during Radnor High School's senior graduation rehearsal. We handed out voter registration forms to seniors who had not yet registered to vote. Then we talked to the seniors about the importance of voting. Last year, the focus was on the importance of the midterm elections and what issues are relevant to young adults. We spoke about what to expect for voting for the first time, such as providing a form of photo ID. The presentation also explained how to register and submit absentee ballots for college students. The past 2 years' presentations have been very successful, and it is a great opportunity for Radnor seniors to become engaged and informed in voting.
Thanks, Rachel. This was last year. You were the first recipient of the League's effort to work with graduating seniors on their graduation rehearsal day. What do you remember about that?
Well, I remember that you brought cookies.
Cookies are always good.
Yeah, and I was also thankful that you had given us the ballot applications, because I probably would have left securing one until the last minute, and I also would have taken me a little longer to figure out the process and how to apply.
Because applying for an absentee ballot is not easy. So this year, Sophie, we did a few different things, right? Can you tell us what we did?
So this year we decided it would be better for students if we gave out the applications and other materials in an envelope that they can eventually use to send in when they want their absentee ballot. So we're hoping the envelopes will make it a lot easier for people to remember to turn it in and when they actually decide to turn it in.
Can you tell me what's in the envelope?
So what we included is we had this absentee ballot application. We had a fun little sticker that says, "I'm a voter," and this link will lead you to Vote 411, which we will talk about a little later. And this is a pledge saying for students that they can ask for email reminders from the League. And then finally, we had this list of what is in the local upcoming elections in 2019.
Thanks, Sophie. That's an amazing envelope and the result of many people doing a lot of work. For example, that sheet of paper that told you what was on the ballot was devised by Alex Yiannopoulos, another student member of the League. While we originally thought that we were going to be spending money on T-shirts or pins, Ann Albright realized how attractive those stickers would be to all students. And given her expertise, she made that sticker with that link, because that Vote 411 website is critical for the one-stop shopping you need as a voter on Election Day. You can find your information about voter registration there, absentee ballots, polling places, sample ballots, and most importantly, nonpartisan information about the candidates. In the past year, more than 165,000 Pennsylvanians have used this resource. And thanks to Sophie and other members of the League, all local candidates have submitted information for this service. So Sophie did a lot of work contacting those candidates, because being an informed voter is important. Rachel, when you worked as a League intern, you did a project on the problems in the District of Columbia related to voting. Can you briefly explain what's going on in the District of Columbia?
While voters in Pennsylvania have the opportunity to vote for congressmen and elected officials, District of Columbia residents do not have those same opportunities. They are subjected to the decision of Congress. The District of Columbia has a larger population than Wyoming and Vermont, but they do not receive the same representation for their needs as other states. DC residents have no voting representation in Congress, and they only receive one non-voting delegate in the House. This is an ongoing issue in the district that the League of Women Voters has taken notice of to support enfranchisement for all. Ensuring full and equal representation in Congress for DC residents will give them control over their local laws, government, and guarantee budget autonomy.
Because right now, I think the U.S. government determines how many taxes people pay in the District of Columbia. Is that right?
That is true.
Well, did these issues in the District of Columbia impact you when you think about voting today?
The issue of DC voting showed me how important it is to be able to use your voice to vote and impact change in your community. While it is important to support engagement and advocacy for voters in PA, it is equally as important to make sure other residents in the United States have those same rights as well. I have been in touch with the district's League of Women Voters who work tirelessly on this issue. Also, I am involved with GW for DC Statehood, a club on GW's campus that encourages other students to learn about the issue of DC statehood and the importance of voting. I have encouraged others to use their vote as their voice as well, such as checking up on my friends to make sure they know the specific dates of upcoming elections and absentee ballot information.
Well, I think because many of you are linked by social media, the kinds of reminders and Facebook posts you put out to help your friends remember to vote and apply for absentee ballots is something that the League of Women Voters really works to encourage. And I hope those of you who are listening, if you have young people that you know, using social media links is a really critical way to make sure every voice is heard. Now, Sophie, you've also done some work with the League, and I want to show one of the things that you did this year for us, if we can find one of those voter cards in here. Sophie worked to provide, in addition to our card, some information about first-time voters. What did you do with this, Sophie?
I was looking at, we already had this front of the card, which shows information for votespa.org and Vote 411, and then there was nothing on the back. So we decided it would be nice to include a list of what first-time voters should bring to the polling place. And so just included this list here, and then students can see what they need to bring because they're the most likely to be first-time voters.
And it would be really criminal to have them go to the poll, do all that work, and then be turned away because they forgot their driver's license or they didn't have their student ID with them. So it's really important that everyone knows as a first-time voter that you're going to be asked to provide some information to those at the polls to show that, in fact, you are who you say you are on that registration form. So thank you, Sophie. Are there other things that you've done with the League that have affected you and your views on voting?
Definitely. I have a greater appreciation for how important local elections are because I've seen how the people we are voting for have a more direct impact on our lives than state and national legislators. And talking to school board candidates and seeing the work that the League did with school start times was especially influential.
Thanks, Sophie. When you were at school last year and you needed to use an absentee ballot, what were some of the issues you ran into?
I didn't realize, and I know many other people found this to be a problem too, that in Pennsylvania, absentee ballots need to be received. I think this is just for primary elections, or not in the presidential election. They have to be received on or before the Friday, before the Tuesday of the election.
It's actually all elections. So
all elections? Okay.
All elections. So if you want to vote, you can't wait till the last minute if you're doing an absentee ballot. It's really a two-step process, right?
Mm-hmm. So that means that not only do you have to send in your absentee ballot, but the application has to be sent in far before then. And so I ended up receiving my absentee ballot just in time to send it in before that Friday, but that's definitely a Pennsylvania law I wish I had been aware of.
The other thing I think a lot of students don't realize is, you have to have a stamp. Not one stamp, but two stamps. And so many people are used to just, pushing a button and having things disappear. The stamps can be an issue.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, as president of the League of Women Voters, I know that many in our audience have voted in many elections and understand its importance. I would like to encourage each of you to ask your recent graduates and college students that you know, be they your neighbors, your friends, your grandchildren, members of your faith community, to make sure they're registered to vote. To do so anywhere in our country, Sophie can give you some more advice. Sophie, what advice would you give to anybody anywhere in the country who needs to register to vote?
I think the most important thing is to keep an eye on the dates, and if you have to set reminders on your phone, do whatever you can to make sure you're on schedule and you know when you can vote and you give yourself enough time to do that. This is another important thing going back to the absentee ballots is that they have to be turned in paper. They can't be submitted online or anything, which is another thing I didn't know. So those are two things to keep in mind, I think.
I think one of the things that people don't know is you can download the application. Then you have to print it out. Then you have to fill it out. Then you have to find an envelope and then address it properly and send it, because each county has their own election board. So if you live in Montgomery County, you're going to write a different address on it than those people who live in Delaware County. So it's not only just filling it out, but sending it to the right place. So there's a lot of steps involved, but it's so important that everyone has a voice. Now, do you have any advice for young voters, Rachel?
My advice is, if you haven't already, register to vote. Stay informed on absentee ballot deadlines and upcoming election dates, as Sophie has said. Votes411.org, as we said before, it's a great resource for deadlines, candidate information, issues in upcoming elections. Even though last year's midterm elections had a high turnout, only 31% of young people actually voted. One of the country's most powerful rights is the ability to vote. Young people have the opportunity to vote and make significant changes in electing our officials and changing policy.
Well, thank you. We know based on research that people register to vote when asked by people they care about. They could be their teachers, they could be their school colleagues, or those that they share their values with. The League of Women Voters cannot do it alone. We appreciate the funding of the Citizens Education Fund of the National League to help us provide access to voter registration materials and election materials for our students. And we'd like to thank Radnor Studio One for this opportunity to share this important work of our Student League members and their efforts in helping to make sure every voter is heard and that every vote counts. We always encourage you to join the League of Women Voters to help make democracy work. Please remember also, those who will be 18 or older by November can register to vote now. Once registered, though, it's not enough. They have to remember to vote. Even the Inquirer this week noted that voting is a hot topic in the state. It should be a hot topic in your discussions with your friends. They're registered and that they in turn vote November 5th. Thank you on behalf of the League of Women Voters and Sophie and Rachel for the wonderful work you've done for many years now.
Thank you.
Thank you.